This is the all-new Community Connection. I'm your host, Jade, Harrell, keeping you connected to our community. Finding Good Ideas, a training workshop. So many ways to get involved in the innovation and entrepreneurship communities here in St. Louis. Should you attend? Absolutely. You should attend. And we welcome anyone thinking of starting a business, creating a business line, joining a startup, or adding a side hustle. Or if you just want to learn more about the whole ideation process. The event is happening on May 25th at the Center for Emerging Technologies, 20 South Sarah Street, right across the street from IKEA, at the corner of Forest Park Parkway and Sarah, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And I am joined today by Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore, who is the Director of Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion, and Christy Maxfield, who is the Director of Entrepreneur Development Services with the Center for Emerging Technologies and Cortex. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So you all have been very active with creating and generating and flourishing our entrepreneurial ecosystem. But Cheryl, yours from entrepreneurial inclusion and bioscience perspective, but Christy also all encompassing to making sure that we are initiated and survive out here. So this is very exciting to hear that we're talking about from ideation. Mm-hmm. Let's start with ideation.
Well, we approached it from the viewpoint that coming into Cortex and the idea of entrepreneurship and the idea of innovation really could be daunting. And finding ways to think about how ideas, especially good ideas, are all around us, that is actually something you can learn. So starting that process, getting excited about seeing problems and identifying solutions and coming up with new ways of looking at the world around you, that's where it starts. So we wanted to structure a program that would introduce that kind of thinking to people, because we're working off the premise that if we can make it as barrier-free to participate as possible, meaning we can eliminate as many of the things that might make one fearful or apprehensive or hesitate. We don't know what all those are, and we probably can't take care of all of them.
Sure.
But we can make it feel comfortable by saying, hey, let's start at the beginning.
I like that.
Where do good ideas come from?
Very, very good. What are some of the barriers to ideas? We don't know all of them, but what are some that you've run across in your experience?
I think most often people don't think they actually have the power to change their environment. So at its most basic level, I think it starts with the thing that you're always saying, I wish somebody would, and fill in the blank. And most of us don't ever think of ourselves as the somebody who could do that.
Yeah.
And when you make that shift to how could I solve that problem, you take down some of the other constraints. So I can have the idea, but I don't have to be the person who actually builds it. I can go find that person. Or I can build it, and then I can go find the person who can help me launch it. And if you don't assume that you have to do it all yourself, then the opportunities become much wider.
Most people don't think they're an entrepreneur. All of us, we're entrepreneurial in different roles. So this ideation activity can happen in a corporate environment. You don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur out here by yourself developing a company, but you can have that same entrepreneurial spirit inside of a large company. They're looking for innovations. They're looking for new opportunities. I think also, too, people who think of entrepreneurs think that you have to be, creating this multi-billion-dollar, organization. And actually, as we all know, I think the term entrepreneur can be offsetting. We've seen studies that say that women and other minorities consider themselves small business owners instead of entrepreneurs, because that's a different language, and that could be a barrier to them even thinking that, I have the same type of idea concept, but I'm not an entrepreneur. Right. Yeah, you are. You are. It's looking at how do you take, just like what Christy said, an idea, an opportunity where you think, God, I wish I had something that could do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So it's in all of us, right?
Yeah. Well, then let's bring in your area of focus, and that is the inclusion initiatives, and where we do find ourselves limited, maybe self-imposed, or not aware of the opportunities that exist?
Well, I think that when we founded the Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion Initiative about 2.5 years ago, the premise was, how do we get more women and minorities, especially those underrepresented minorities, in the biosciences really interested in developing and becoming an entrepreneur in the sciences. And my message to our target audience was, you don't necessarily have to be a chemist or a scientist to do this. Traditionally, bioscience companies have technical founders. So what they need are the functional roles around those technical founders.
Sure.
They need people who understand from the legal standpoint, how to build a company, from a regulatory standpoint, especially in the sciences, from the FDA as a Harrell or the USDA, these regulatory bodies. But they also need people who understand finance, marketing, strategy, because a lot of these companies, if they are building a bioscience type of product, they need help in all of these areas.
Right.
So we started, like I said, about 2.5 years ago with this message. And I'm proud to say our tenets and our pillars are increasing awareness of the opportunities here in the St. Louis market. St. Louis was just identified, as we all know, as one of the top startup cities in the U.S.
How about that?
And it's not because of the entrepreneurs that are here. It's really because of all the great resources that we have here to support budding entrepreneurs. So we're increasing awareness around, this opportunity here in the St. Louis market, which is unique. Also providing training opportunities. And here is a training opportunity. Christy and I, we collaborate very closely in making sure that we have solid training opportunities to really speak to how do you get involved in this whole entrepreneurial activity. And then our last pillar is really uncovering the networks that are here in the St. Louis market that can help entrepreneurs, not only from the funding perspective, but the facilities, the academic resources that we have here, and our community resources here as well. So the event that we're putting on, which is underwritten and supported by the Small Business Association, which we're very happy that they find value in what we're doing and how we're doing it. We're really happy to be able to engage with CET and with Christy and really aligning how do we create value for those entrepreneurs or those budding entrepreneurs that are really interested in getting to our marketplace.
For sure. Christy, let's talk about the training then. How do you create that learning around ideation, participation in the entrepreneurial activities, and getting engaged, making yourself, hey, I'm all right as an entrepreneur. I can do this. Yeah.
So CET has been around since 1998, and that focus on entrepreneurs has always been there, but how we've approached the work has changed over the years.
Okay.
It started exclusively as a bioscience incubator, and really in the last several years we've opened that tent much wider to really identify advanced technology companies that have high growth potential. So the program I inherited, Square One, and continue to grow, that program now focuses on IT, bioscience, and consumer manufactured products as its industry pillars. And the idea is that there's a blurring of lines between all of them, and to focus on just one would do a disservice to our entrepreneurs and, frankly, to the way the world works today.
Yeah.
So really what happens is that someone who has identified that thing, that potential solution to whatever the problem may be, knows enough that they need other folks. And in finding other folks, more often than not, they find their way to either Cheryl or me or one of my other colleagues at an entrepreneur support organization. And then they come in to work with us at Square One. And so from the how do we make that known to them? We've adopted the use of the business model canvas, which is widely used throughout the entrepreneur community.
Sure, let's describe that also for our listeners.
Sure. So the idea is that it's pre-business plan. It doesn't replace the business plan. It instead really seeks to validate the business model. It can fit on 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and that makes it very deceptive in terms of thinking, oh, this is a piece of cake. I can fill this out and move on and start my company and get funded, and we're all good. What it really does is challenge our students to look at what is your value proposition, and does that value proposition align with a market, and are you delivering enough value that they'll pay for it? Because you might be able to fill out some of the other quadrants, but fundamentally, if those two are not aligned, you don't have a business.
That's the bottom line. I mean, that's the bottom line.
That is.
But that's also what intimidates many people about the idea. So,
and that's why we also say be wedded to the problem, not the solution. Because we often come up with solutions and then are deeply wedded to finding people who will buy our solution.
Yeah.
If instead we're open to the problem and solving the problem, then if we get feedback that our solution isn't quite right for our customer, then we can be nimble enough to say, I can make a change to the solution because I care enough about solving the problem.
Exactly.
And that's really where things are hinged. And an entrepreneur's willingness to seek feedback from their target market and act on feedback from their target market and recognize what value they need to provide versus what value they want to provide.
Sure.
That's really where we see the difference between a business model that can be validated and acted upon and one that is a nice idea, but it's not going to generate revenue.
Sure.
And that's the bottom line.
It is. And ultimately that success.
Yes.
So there's a phrase you all use that includes the word pivot that I think is definitely transformational for many of us to think about that, not only in business, but in life. Share that phrase and how you all use it.
So everyone asks us about outcomes. What does success look like for a Square One program? And for someone like me who's working at the earliest stage of entrepreneurship, there are 3 Ps. You can pivot, you can persevere, and you can perish. And really, we want you to be in the persevere and pivot stage. Some of us are fortunate enough to really be on the right track from word one, and it's just a matter of accelerating how we're moving forward. Others of us need to pivot to adjust to that new information we get from our customers, and some of us need to perish. So when we start Square One, I promise them all that they will leave as entrepreneurs. I do not promise them that they will leave with the idea or the business they came in. Because perishing means that we've identified that it's not worth pursuing that particular idea, which means you don't waste time and you don't waste money and you don't waste resources in the community trying to make something work that's inherently flawed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and as grand of an idea that it may be, this is why it's so valuable to connect, to engage, and to get that feedback. And that's what we're looking forward to for Wednesday on May 25th.
So we've actually had a great response to the Ideation workshop. So a lot of people are joining us to find out how to find good ideas. And we are expecting standing room only, which means that we invite you to keep tabs on what we're doing. There'll be many pathways for you to get engaged with CET, BioSTL, Cortex, the innovation community throughout the greater St. Louis area.
Love it.
And we really want you to be a part of that. So we are actively seeking your input on how to make that the most fulfilling and enriching experience possible. So please share with us what you want. Clearly, we've hit a nerve with the finding good ideas piece, so I can imagine we'll be doing more of that kind of programming. I know Cheryl and I are very focused on making sure that we're reaching particularly those entrepreneurs who are underrepresented in our community and meeting them where they are so that regardless of whether you call yourself an entrepreneur or a small business owner, whether it's a side hustle or your main time gig, that there are places for you here too. And it's our job to make sure that those are more readily available to everyone. So we're really most grateful to BioSTL for really leading the way with the inclusion initiative. And then working with agencies like SBA to be able to provide the funding needed to serve our community.
Very well done. Where can people find out more?
They can keep track of us on both of our websites, right, Cheryl?
Absolutely. They can visit BioSTL at biostl.org. And I do want to say that, for BioSTL, they have been really committed to this initiative. Actually, the conversation started in 2008 with BioSTL leading the way and having these conversations with CEO level and civic organizations here in our community. And they brought me on board to really, how do we move this forward from a programming standpoint? So this has been a journey, and we know this is going to continue to be a journey. And I really am very grateful that BioSTL organizations like Cortex, like CET, and other support resource partners in our region see this as a paramount and a mandate of making sure that opportunity is there for all in our community. We're raising the level of innovation here for our region, and we have to understand that inclusion is not a nice thing to do. It's a market driver, and it's a way that we can increase not only our economics in our region, but innovation in our region too as well.
Absolutely.
And we're actually launching a new website at CETSTL.org and find out about all our programming.
Excellent. Thank you both. Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore, who is the Director of Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion with BioSTL, and Christy Maxfield, Director of Entrepreneur Development Services for the Center for Emerging Technology at Cortex. We thank you both again.
Thank you, Jade.
Thanks so much.
All right, that's it for this week. If you have questions or comments or have something you'd like to include in the community calendar, you can leave a message on our message box at 314-333-8369, 314-333-8369. And for more information about our show or any of our guests, you can visit us online and listen to the podcast at Spreaker.com. That's SPREAKER.com. And search Community Connection with Jade Harrell. You all be blessed, do blessed, and take care.